It's My Right Stuff with your host, Grammy Award-winning record producer and inventor, Toby Wright. My Right Stuff is brought to you by Tones, a natural sleep and sound healing portal available globally at www.tones.com. That's www.taummhoms.com. And I'm your announcer, Grinnin' Barrett. Here's Toby.
Hey, and welcome back to My Right Stuff, which is a film, TV, sports, and adventure lifestyle podcast. And our guests come from all walks of life and not just the music sector. I'm your host, Lord Toby Wright, and on today's podcast, we have a very good friend of mine for many years, Mr. Frankie Sullivan. But first, I want to thank our sponsor, Tones, which is a natural sleep and sound healing portal helping people globally to get to sleep faster and stay asleep longer through tomes.com, which is www.taummhoms.com. But most of all, a big thank you to all of you who stream, download, watch, and support My Right Stuff. Keep spreading the word. I appreciate it. And be sure to click on our show notes below and follow our link tree for a full list of all the channels we're streaming on, as well as all of our sites and social media platforms. Also, if you're able, please follow our support link to donate to My Right Stuff. Every single dollar helps support My Right Stuff crew who make all of this possible. And of course, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as the podcast channel of your choice, so you never miss a single episode. So please head on over to myrightstuff.com, go to the store tab, and pick up some snazzy merch for those bodies. Well, as I said, today's guest is Mr. Frankie Sullivan. And if you're not familiar with who he is or what he's done, let me give you the mountaintop view real quick. He's a founding member of the band Survivor, which has had 10 top 40 singles, a Grammy Award for Best Rock Performance by a Duo or a Group, a People's Choice Award, and an Academy Award nomination for the Best Original Song, Eye of the Tiger. Bet you know that one, right? All right, now let's have a nice, warm My Right Stuff welcome for Mr. Frankie Sullivan. How are you today, Frank?
I'm fine. Look, I'm giving you a warm welcome. I'm fine, Toby. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great, brother.
Did you want to get back to this and get it out of the way before I drop it? Can you see it? Wait, where's the mic to see? You got to kind of... They may have...
there's a nice People's Choice Awards, huh? Yeah, we can see that. That looks good.
Okay, so you only get one. So they only give one away here. I don't know what year this was. Maybe 59. But...
I think it says 83 on it. Yeah, 1959.
Yeah, it was.
That was it.
No, it was the 59th one. I know it was 83, but it was the 59th People's Choice Award. But here's the great choice. So this weighs 50 pounds, by the way.
Wow.
So they make it out of
heavy.
crystal. Okay, so you only get one for band. Yeah, see, it's copper inlaid. You only get one for band, and, the guys never really liked that. They gave it to me, so... And they were like, okay, so I let someone borrow it. He put it on... He left it on the roof of his car. I won't say which one. And drove away. So he goes back and he comes in and he goes, hey, we got to get a new People's Choice. I go, he hands it to me and you can't, I don't know if you can see this. Look he hands it to me. Wait, see those scar, 11 stitches?
Oh, yeah.
It was a ball. Yeah. It was a ball of crystal. I said, it's right here. I said, well, that's nice. And then I had to go get stitched up. I said, okay, so we had to order a new one. And you wouldn't believe what they cost. They charged us for that. So
wow, how much are they?
A lot. I think it was...
Okay, a lot. We'll just leave it at that.
It was a lot of money, and it was back then, but don't give your award to... I'll let you borrow it. And it came back the next day. I said, well, okay, you broke it. Now you cut my hand. But that big crystal was in it. He had a little ball the size of like a little golf ball. He goes, here, and what happened to it? I put it on the roof and drove away.
Well, I like to get to know my guests from the beginning. So when did your love of music begin, and with what instrument did you start?
Okay, so let me set this down before I drop it off the roof of the car here.
Yes, please do, and then we can
When
get
did I start?
to it.
I was a late bloomer. I started playing guitar at 15, but I was always
At 15. Okay.
Yeah, I think
Always?
that's kind of late. Yeah, I never played it before then, but I listened to it. My oldest sister had a Toby, those cool FM, AM, FM radios with the turntable on them, battery power.
Oh, nice.
Excuse
Right.
me. Did you ever see one of those so you could put vinyl
I
on
did.
it? Okay, so I would steal it, and my poor old sister run the batteries dry, but I could go sit out by the tree in the yard. And back then, radio like WXRT in Chicago was off the map. I put the radio on, they'd play like Hendrix and Cream, and Peter Green stuff.
Okay.
Excuse me, Pink Floyd and Butterfield. I go, what is that? Guitar. I said,
Right.
that is, I want to learn it. So I kind of started. I had a Buck Owens.
Okay.
I still have it, the red, white, and blue acoustic. That was the only guitar I had for about 3 years.
Oh, wow.
But
Awesome.
my introduction to music is kind of interesting. I think, to me, I like it. Maybe it was best for me. It was because it was listening. Long before touching or playing, it was listening. So I think I was listening to the sounds. I was listening to things like fingers, and I noticed, what does Hendrix sound so much different from like Clapton or, Beck? And I started thinking, because of the touch. So I did a lot of critical listening. You could say that nowadays. And I think looking back, it helped. A lot, like 3 years before I picked up a guitar.
Sure.
And back then, when you turned on XRT, that was what was it called back then? There was no classic rock. It was like one of those underground channels that played, stuff like Hendrix and Cream and Fleetwood Mac with Peter Green in the band and the Butterfield Blues Band that had Bloomfield in it. And then I discovered that they all learned from the brothers. So you find there was another station that played Freddie King, Albert Collins, B.B. King, Howlin' Wolf. Then you really get deep and you go, okay, this sounds even better. So I think I listened to a lot of different players, a lot of different sounds, and I was always drawn to two things, the guitar and the singing.
Okay.
Singing. Yeah, so I paid attention to it. Yeah. But I did a lot of
listening. Like you met Peter Rick in 77 through a mutual friend, and you formed Survivor, right?
Yeah, I met Jim in 70. They were coming to gigs because I was working and I was in the band Mariah. We made a record for, what you remember, United Artists Records. So Al Teller was the president, but I had my dad, it was between junior and senior year, so I had to finish school. So I said, I'll have to come back. So I was working 2 jobs. This is true. And one was the graveyard shift. You remember Flying Tiger Airlines? I ran the 12 to 7. And then I was going to school to get out early. So I went back to California and made a record.
Okay.
For Al Teller, it was Mariah. Well, we were playing bars, and then Jim and Gary Smith was the drummer. Dennis, monster bass player, Toby. The guy made me feel like Jeff Beck. They came to a couple of gigs, and they asked me if I didn't really know any of them. And they asked me if I wanted to come and try out. And I did. And that's where I ended up. Yeah, it was a cool thing.
And then you got signed to Scotty Brothers by Kolodner, right? John Kolodner was the head of A&R.
Yes, he was. Well, he was at Atlantic at the time. We played bars. Right, okay. We pounded it. We played and rehearsed, and then Atlantic, we had labels, back in the days, they were bidding for us, whatever. And he wanted to sign us, and he was really good friends with the Scotties, and I think he said, I'm going to put you on the Scotties because of their promotional team, because they were the best. Look it up. Anytime. Well, they worked every record. To get to number 1, they had to be the promotion team, because that's what they did.
Right.
So it was very early in the inception of Scotty Brothers Records, because prior to the Scotty Brothers promotion with Ben Scotty, which I think you play the record or you're going to get your head broken. So I went in his office once. This was before I had a Tiger. I went in his office once, and he had a great big, maybe it was like 6x8 oil painting. Beautiful. And it was a tiger. Not anything to do with I had a Tiger yet. You know what I was doing.
Right.
A bunch of wildebeest, and these tigers are mauling it. I'm like, wow. And I'm looking at it, he goes, see that? You know, the wildebeest and the tiger. He goes, that's every program director in the world. And I'm thinking, well, that's kind of heavy. So I didn't know what I was getting into, but I know they were really good. Which is why
gotcha. Okay.
Which is why John moved us to them for their promotion. I'll never forget the wildebeest the wildebeest with a pack of tigers and him going, see that? It's every promotion, man. Everybody that runs program at radio, and I'm going, the guy better play the record. That's all I could think in my head. The guy better play this record. Before you knew anything, you just go, oh, I think they better play the record. But they were really good. I liked being on that label.
And so you co-wrote most of the band's material, right? And how is it writing with Jim?
Yeah, all of it. It's great. It's funny today. Sorry, Toby, I'm hoarse today because I don't know why, I was singing and playing. So he says, you're writing such great songs. I don't even know. I do it for the same reason I always did it, because I love it. Just prior to this thing, it burned a bunch of time, which is why I'm like, I was writing a post and I explained to her about, no, that's not how it was written. And I said, I went through the whole Can't Hold Back, how the song was written. I told her, I said, do you see what we just did with the post? Since she say a word, I said, it's a great word, but it's too heavy. You got to lighten it up. You can't say. It was one of those, studied words. I said, people don't relate to those. I changed. I said, you see what you just did? That's how Jim and I wrote Can't Hold Back. Well, how? Like, we wrote the song. You know the story behind that? The album was done. If you can imagine that, maybe it would have been a stick. So the record's done. We're breaking down. We're going to go up to Sausalito then and do overdub. And I started playing this thing on the guitar. I always have it good. I started going. Jim's always following me or him here with the handheld. I was going to bring them. Remember those old Sony handhelds? I still have them. So he's following me. I remember. And Ron, what is that? Well, I don't really know. And it kind of segued. And he said, well, we're going to come and record it tomorrow. I said, well, but there's just that part. Well, then I guess you guys are going to have to come in early. So you know what it's like. They had broken the drums down or packing gears to set it all up.
Right.
The next morning, we had ideas. The music was pretty much done. The next morning, we went in the studio. Ron goes, get here at 10. I said, well, I'm tired too, because, Ron, we'll start at like 1:30. We went in at 11. He came in at 1:30. We were kind of done, cut the track, and by 4 and left. But Can't Hold Back would have never been on that record. So cut one, side one. It was like the lead track. It went to number one at what was AOR radio, but we almost didn't even have it. It was a little low Dyton on the guitar and, our handhelds. Wow. What is that? And we would tune the whole room out. And, Ron loved all that. It's like, leave those guys. If it was a good idea, keep at it. And when he didn't say anything to me, I just kept going.
Right.
I told Sarisa, can you imagine Vital Signs without Can't Hold Back? I said, I don't think it's even, I said, I love all the other songs, but it doesn't take off from the runway. What do you mean? Side one, cut one, lead track, went to number one. I said, and it's a really good track because it's unorthodox. You listen to the arrangement, I explained it to her because I love how it's set. That B verse at the end where you think it's going to have to bridge it soon and go right back into the chorus, we snuck in the B verse again.
Right.
Which Ron would take credit for, but it was my idea because I was just playing on guitar and I slid into it. He goes, that's a great idea. It's fun. I said, okay, whatever. We're just playing, but it's unorthodox thing. I just showed her that too. I just played it for her. I said, listen to this. It was kind of a magical moment. One of those moments you have to go with it. And I always said, if Ron's not, when Ron interrupts with, hang on, what did you say in that lyric? Okay, change. That's when I liked it. That's when he would interrupt. But whenever I would hear silence, you just keep going. So
exactly.
I loved that. Yeah. And I played the track, and someday we should remix it to, less echo. It was good back then. I know.
Right.
But I listened to it, and it's a really, really great track. That lead vocal. So you remember now he had just joined the band. First time anybody ever heard of him. The first time they ever saw Jamo, Toby and I call him Jimi, Jamison. Just can't hold back. Right. Okay, cut one side one is the acoustic guitar, and then one stereo, and then you hear this voice for like the whole, what's the intro? Almost like 40, 60 seconds long. And I'm like, what? It was huge. So it's kind of, I told her, I said, now think about this after I went all through this process. I said, it was the first time anybody heard Jamo sing. Yep. I said, yeah, I took that. I was walking through Epic Records, John, my manager, go say hi and, go up there and stroke the guy. So I go up there. Every desk, first desk, all the girls, we love your new singer. What? His voice, but we love him. Oh, they loved everything about him. I got that Larry's Stessel's off. I picked up the phone. Hey, John, maybe we're going to have a hit record. And he said, all these chicks love it. And I said, because I loved him anyhow. But all the girls, before anybody saw him, went nuts at the record companies. I called Barrick. I said, I think we might have a hit record on our hands. Why? Because the girls like him.
Exactly.
Besides his great voice, you have to have, you got to have that amazing voice. But if you don't have that girl thing going on, you're not going to do it when you're a singer.
That's right. That's right.
It's kind of an amazing.
So what was your first charting single?
Gee, Toby, you're going to push my brain already to the limits. I don't remember. You
don't remember.
The first record, there's so many tracks that could have, should have, whatever that crap is. They didn't. Maybe our first real charting single was Poor Man's Son, which was on the second record.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yep. Yeah, that was our first. But a lot of them, no. Oh, yeah, it was. I'm sorry, because I was going to say Moment of Truth, which is, I went through that. I said, wait a minute, because today, this is ironic. 40 years ago today, Tiger hit number one. Today, 40 years ago, right now.
Congratulations.
40.
That's awesome.
I know. So I get all these messages, and I look it up and said, and it stayed there for 6 weeks, by the way. And I told Teresa, I said, selling 1 million records a week. I said, where's all my new plaques? You and I could talk. Remember later, I'm going, yeah, what did I got this old bowling? Where's the big things? So I'll get them this week. But 40 years ago today is kind of when that started.
Well, congratulations, my friend.
Yeah,
how did you meet Sylvester Stallone? And how did all that come about? Like with Eye of the Tiger?
Toby, all this stuff about Eye of the Tiger is bullshit, 99% of it is made up. It's winging it. Tony Scotti. That's how that whole thing started. Again, back to the Scotti Brothers. You would go around Scotti Brothers records. As soon as they signed us, you walk in that building, they got a mural of Sylvester Stallone on the wall. It's like signed. Paintings in their offices. So, he's my friend. So, Tony and him were very close. All those people were close friends with him way before they signed us.
Right, okay.
Okay, so they went out to, Rayo's? They're two Italian guys. They're eating whatever, pastas. And, Rocky III was done. And they're close friends. I found it out. All of those guys, Ben, Tony, the Stallones, both the Stallones, Johnny Musso, they're Italian guys. And I know this from Tony. The film was done. And the music was done. But, Sly Stallone's a sharp guy. He just didn't really like what was in that spot. Tony's a sharper guy. Okay, well, I got that band, maybe we could help each other out. It's really that simple. And, well, okay, I'll have to submit a couple of songs. That's the beginning and the end of it. The rest of it's just sensationalized alternate reality that doesn't even exist. Okay. It does not exist. Those two guys started it. And they're just now getting credit. And then, once one guy starts to give credit where credit is due, and this is how it should be, hopefully everyone follows. So I started giving, I didn't do interviews about this for years because I refused.
Okay.
It was too personal. It was too full of bullshit. It was all sensationalized. It was all, I'm always like, okay, go talk to the geniuses. That's kind of the way I was. You worked with me and Ron, I would say, and I would go to somewhere, Rolling Stone would say, well, okay, well, why don't you go talk to the geniuses? He's right there. And they would go and I would be left alone because I didn't really care much about that. But so much of it's BS. Go ahead.
I was going to say one of the BS things is who produced it. because there's a lot of
well, you know who did that.
Few
Read the
misnomers.
credits. Okay, so for something that started with, like you and I, they're two friends, right?
That's right. Yep.
And they're at Rails, they're eating food, and one guy's a big star, and one guy's a big businessman at times, and said, well, I don't like the music. Why have this band? Well, it's the same thing. Now all of a sudden there's like 50 guys, 5 guys. You know who did that song.
I do. You know my audience doesn't, though. It does.
I read something today. It says a story I had to tell you. I said, do I have to read this? A friend of mine said to me, I said, I can't. And I read it, and it was one of mine. And it's right on the money. Everything I just told you, I said, thank God, because I usually don't read them. I've ignored it all these years. I've said I'm not going to do interviews about Rolling Stone magazine. No, I don't. We'll do I don't want to deal with it because all of this stuff. So somebody said, read this. Okay. So like who produced it? It's like the story of how it got done. I'm like, this is turning into like a bad version of what Mark Twain would do, because Mark Twain at least was factual. Even when he was fictionist, it was a great read. I said, this is a lousy book. This chapter, I said, there's 80 characters. If it was a film, it would be a bomb because you would know. Who did? You would just say, forget it. Quentin Tarantino would say, I can't even make sense out of that. You know what I'm saying? It's like one of those. But I did it. I did do it. I did it.
I know you did.
And Phil's passed away, but Phil went on and on. First off, the version in the film is the demo that we did in Chicago. We did it here in Chicago at CRC with Phil and mixed it. So everything you hear in that is Phil and I. So he's passed away, and everybody thinks, okay, so here, out of control. But the demo that we did here, you know this, and you know I like that too. On the spot, in one night, 2 songs, ever since the world began. By the way, which when we went to cut the real version, it sucked. We used a demo. That's the one that's in the film. And it's the version that's on the soundtrack record. And I'm telling Sylvester Stallone, well, we're cutting the 22, the real version. Hold on.
Right.
What does that mean? This is when I started learning from people. Real version. Well, we're going to, no, you don't think like that. And then that's a whole other story, because then I started developing. Well, what do you mean? Because I wanted to know, because he's sharp. He's smart. He's fucking smart, man. He goes, what are you talking about? That's the one I'm using. Oh, and I'm thinking, I could dig it. Then I'm thinking on the way back to the studio, okay, we're at Rumble. How do I tell this to the guys? Because they're like, well, we're going to cut the real version. What the fuck is the real version? He didn't want it. Stallone wanted nothing to do with it. He said to me, I'm using this one. That's it. And it was Phil and I and CRC, and that's it. The demo's in the film. We did cut one that's on the record, and they're both great, but Toby, there's sometimes, I don't like this, the demo's always way better, but sometimes there's something in that where guys in bands aren't paying attention. Yeah, man, they're just slamming, and, Mark, you got to hit those fucking punches, and, and they're just, whatever.
Right.
Magic. So why bother with it? So I went with Stallone, which is why I started going, I got to get to know him, because anybody else would say, what do you mean a demo? He's like, don't say that. The demo. So at the time, you think to yourself, I fucking like it. And I did, because the bass is hotter, the kick drum's kicking butt, and feel like bottom, man. That thing is rumbling. So, I had to tell him, well, we can record it, but, the demo's in the movie. And by the way, it's 4 minutes and 58 seconds. What do you mean? From the intro to the fade, the whole song.
Right.
And of course, it still was, well, can't he wait till we're done, guys? Did you hear what I said? In other words, let's stop him now after he's been waiting, and then we get this opportunity and we give him the song and say, no, wait till we give you the real version,
Right. Not going to happen.
I went Toby as an engineer and as a guy, I love you guys, because you have to work with artists. You should get like a Purple Heart for that kind of shit. And well, you know what that's like. When I went to the theater, I wanted to hear it and I had a lot to do. Nobody was there when Stallone was putting that music to the film, but me and Phil. That's it.
Okay.
And then me, because Jim had pneumonia. No, he wasn't in the room. And we were at Warner Brothers working, and he goes, hey, he didn't like, Toby back then in the world of film, they're very safe.
Right.
The VU meters are the size of a wall. Yep. So you have a screen they play the film on. You're way up on this platform. You got all these Oscar-winning great guys like Don Zimmerman. They're killer, but you think the VU meters are literally the size of a wall, and they're watching them. Oh, that's kind of loud. And he's like, "This is what's going on with this song?" What he said to me, "What do you mean?" I said, "They're watching the meters." Sit down. I'm not sitting. The guy won like 20 Oscars. I'm not sitting in his chair. I'm thinking to myself, the next day I go in there, both those VU meters were covered. She's down in there. Okay. Well, my engineer, no, I want you, Phil. He goes, push the thing up, go like, +3, and it'll peg once. Okay, just do it. I just wrote it. The guys are going, it's going to distort it. But, once he said, that's it, they all was quiet. He goes, print it. And they were all freaking out. Hey, the original Irwin Winkler was there and Bob Chartoff, and but when Sly put his foot down, they all turned into puppies. He said, "That's
Absolutely.
It." But it was slamming. When I went to the theater to see it the day the movie came out, it ripped.
Right.
It ripped.
Excellent.
I also like the fact that the whole theater stand up and applauded. That was kind of a nice moment, and not
give you a little chills, right?
Exactly. Not like, oh, look how good I never fucking bought it. It was like, wow. It was, but Toby, as you grow older, people like to rewrite history. In that moment, you don't say it's about me. You just go, wow. And then maybe home you go, geez, it kind of has to, you got to live with it and kind of let it soak in.
Exactly. Well, you feel the emotion of it all in the moment, right? And it gives you the chill bumps and all that, and it's like, fuck. And it's not about me. It's about the experience and everybody in the room that's listening, right?
It totally was. It was, especially that, because I think everybody was waiting for that sequel. And Sly, he put it at the beginning of the film, and it's 4 minutes and 58 seconds. I mean, he went to the bottom of the fade. Okay, so what did I had it, and no offense, some of my friends, but did I really need MTV? I had Rocky 3. It was a number one in 29 countries. And not only that, we had like the whole song, top to the bottom of the fade, and we did that whole montage.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I always thought about, this doesn't happen ever again. And if it does, there's another miraculous thing in your musical career. So I just kind of soaked it in at the time. And then I find out later, this guy did it, that guy did it. I'm like, wait a minute, he was just...
What are some of the accolades that Tiger produced? Say again?
Number one in 29 countries.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, we just passed up 700 million streams last week.
Congratulations. Yep. On Spotify, right?
Toby. Yeah, I looked at it and I said, Spotify. I mean, in a good way. Look at these Spotify, but it's amazing because it's really the.
It really is.
It is, and then sometime we'll talk. Because I got the big perks were like, hey, I want to go see Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler. Oh, they trained your son and sit at ringside like for 3. I did. I sat at all those fights. Those are the big accolades. But we got the Oscar nomination. We won the People's Choice. We got the Golden Globe, we got a couple Grammys, all of the usual stuff. The unusual stuff was like the Oscar stuff and the People's Choice, and
it's one of the biggest selling singles in history, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. We passed up White Christmas.
Right.
When they told me that, I'm like,
amazing.
Okay, so I'm older. I always say old than but I'm not. I'm still like in my brain. I'm stuck at 25. What did you just fucking say? You passed White Christmas. Bing Crosby saying that. You passed it. Okay, fine. But part of it part of it's surreal, and if it has to remain surreal, or it has no meaning to me.
That's right. So Dave Bickler was the singer on the original Tiger. right?
Yeah, he was. Yes,
And he killed it, obviously. And
he did.
why did he leave the band?
Dave killed that, but Dave struggled.
Okay.
He didn't have great endurance, which is not, it's not a big trait when you're singing. And
Right.
he wasn't consistent. Not to say he wasn't great. We all know the guy sang Tiger. He could kick ass.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he didn't have great endurance, so rock and roll bands have to go on the road.
That's right.
Then you're talking about you have to play 5 shows a week, and it's hard.
Right. Right.
Well, he kind of so after we go on the road with Tiger, I want to go to 29 countries. Why not?
Right.
And our manager was like, you're not going to do like blah, 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 another band he managed. What do you mean? He goes, well, when they sold those 20 million records, they wouldn't go out of the States. And they said they're only going to do 90 dates. I'm like, well, I don't need you to tell me. That's kind of stupid. Yeah, so you're going to go everywhere I want you to go, which I later argued with him about. And then recently he wrote me an email. Now, aren't you glad I made you go to all those countries? Well, I am. I did, but I was going to go anyhow. But, Dave it was hard out there singing for him.
Absolutely.
So about 8 months into it, he lost his voice.
Oh,
which no one liked. Well, it hurt me as much as him. But there's a two-sided coin. So you stop, take a time out, you do everything you can.
Yep.
We take care of him. He flies to this place, flies over here, this guy get treated, whatever it is, you take care of it. But then at a point, I think when we all know what we do. When you've done 100% of what you can do, and you're really in that mindset, I'm going to contribute to this thing, and it still doesn't hit the mark, you got to, if you're running the indie, if I'm one of those young, especially these young guys driving a car and the engines keep blowing up, I'm like, fuck it. Give me a Honda engine. You know how they ride any engine out?
Sure.
Because you have to make a change.
That's right.
And at that point, I said, he was really struggling bad.
Okay.
So when we did the next record, he could barely sing. It was hard.
So he started Vital Signs?
No, it was Caught in the Game was after that.
Oh, okay.
After Tiger was Caught in the Game. And it's a good record, but he struggled. So we ended up flying in vocals from demos. And, we didn't have Pro Tools back then. It's like, Mark, this is why he said, why does, remember I said, I think I'll mix, and then I sucked at, I'm not going to do this after I blew a whole week of money at the record plant. Well, the engineers are the guys with the white pencil back then. Okay, the vocal starts here. Then the other guys, the assistant starts to track. Then they got to hit it on. We did that for days and days on some of that.
Oh, yeah.
It was hard on everybody. Hard on Phil, but it was hard on Dave, too. But it was harder, I think, for him to push it and keep trying.
Sure. Right.
Because I think there's a natural process where and people probably don't even think about this today, not where you become detached. You do eventually because people don't think about it, not where you become detached in here. The situation can detach people. Because you have to make a change.
Absolutely.
Which I don't always understand. Okay, we had to make a change. Does everybody have to be at him? But I can't control that stuff. But, it was really hard for him.
Sure.
So we need to make a change.
So you moved on and you found Jimi Jamison. How did you find him?
Luck. It was luck.
Luck. Okay. Did he show up at a rehearsal or? We're
needing a singer, and somebody at Epic, and the names that's bullshit, made a suggestion because he was in a band Cobra that they did one album with.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. And then a few other people, and I didn't really pay attention that much, to try him out. So J-Mo was the first guy that walked in the door, by the way. The first guy we auditioned. First guy.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, so we're done. And then, I got to go through the whole band thing. Well, let's try out why? They wanted to try other guys out. We got down, maybe we were a week or so, 2 weeks, 8 days in, a few singers. I remember I picked one of the singers up, and I think I said to myself, oh, so now we're going to audition friends of other guys in the band so they could be their friends and say they auditioned. What the fuck is this? So I had to turn into my other me and go, that guy, whatever, I forgot his name, the guy from Memphis, get him back. And they kind of gave me attitude. I said, okay, get him back or you're going to be looking for two people. That's how good he was. And I, by the way, had been talking to Ron because he's slated to produce a record and he hasn't heard the singer yet. So I had Ron on me and I'm like, Ron, this guy, so I told the band, get him back or forget it, I'm done. It got to that point. And I could name you names, you'd say, what'd you try him out for? We're trying out friends of guys, and I'm like, what are you wasting our time? That guy is so good. Oh, he sucks. You know, you go be friends. I don't even want to be friends with him right now. You know, you get in that mood. So my road crew.
Okay.
Guys, I got the three. You know this guy, don't worry about it. They kept him in town the whole time and didn't tell any of us.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They kept Jamo in Chicago the whole time.
Okay.
So for another week and a half or 2 weeks, they were like hanging out with him and partying with him and going to bars. And I'm like, what? He's here. He never left. It was like my brother. You know, he was on the crew at the time.
Sure.
What are you talking about? Because it's real. He's still here. We kept him here. Okay, bring him down tonight. It was like a magical thing. And when he walked in, I think we had, because we kept writing it. And Ron wanted to hear. So we had Broken Promises. He sang the shit out of it. We had High on You. He sang High on You. The guy, it was like this. I was on cloud nine. I'm thinking, this guy, his voice, called Ron, send me a tape. FedEx. He's going to say, because I think he was in line, he was going to do like 404. He was in, you know, Ron at that time. He says, I got this. Okay, Ron, but what's he like? Amazing. How amazing. As good as it gets in any music, but in our music, this guy is like that other guy, and no one's like that other guy. Okay, so I sent him a tape. It was Broken Promises and one other song. He came in about 3 days later, and he said, thank God your guys kept him in town. I said, they would have been looking for two people. I couldn't believe that they even wanted to. It wasn't all of them, but I couldn't believe anybody would have wanted to try anybody out because that was another moment. So it's a curse of being first. That's what I always tell them.
Exactly.
Right. You know how nonchalant. Hey, man, it's the curse of being first. Just don't worry about it because when you're a big star and everything, and they hate you, then he came to me, why the hell hate me? Because that's what happens. Just do what you do. But I always told him it's the curse of being first. But I would have never tried anybody else out. If I told you the names of some of the people we tried, you go, what? Nothing against anyone, but you cannot, after him, you can't try anybody else out. Unless it's like maybe Steve Perry and, you know.
He was taken.
Where'd he go? Yeah. Where would you go?
Right,
so
exactly.
That was the moment because we needed that.
Absolutely.
We needed that.
And how did the fans respond to the singer change for Vital Signs? Like once you put out Vital Signs, how did the fans respond?
Crazy. Unbelievable. I told you when I was walking through Epic, they're like, I know all the girls. Hey, Frankie, we love your new singer and we want to meet him and see him. Oh, God, he's so good. Look. Good looking first, but what a voice. What an amazing voice. Every desk I walked by. And I kind of knew then, and it spread. Like the MTV people, you know, I'm friends with a couple of the VJs. They said, we love him. His voice is great, but you're girls. Okay, I like that. I get all that. And I loved him too for a lot of things. But that voice, Toby, man, it changed our life dramatically. My life, because if you write, he's a writer's dream. If you write lyrics, songs, he's a writer's dreams. No one thinks about this because it was so easy for him. Listen to his pronunciation. There isn't one word on one record, on one song he ever sang that you cannot understand. See, you never thought about that.
Fabulous.
Put him on sometime. Every single word, because it's so big. it's so huge. But then I saw beyond that because once we got out and performing, I started playing. He was kind of a funny, quirky guy, you know, and he kind of loved it all. He's like, "Hey, they all hate me. I told you they would. Just ignore them." You know, he got real famous, but it changed everything. Everything.
Yeah,
And
for
when we
sure.
went on the road, we went out for 14 months. This guy, I
Okay.
never ever heard him complain ever in my life. I can't
That's
say
awesome.
5 nights a week, boom, he was on it
Right.
without a
Awesome.
hitch.
So how many records did he do with you guys?
Yeah, we went on the road with Jamison, and you know, people loved him. It was mainly the
Right.
girls; they loved him. The girls in the office, the manager's wife. You know, it's nice when everybody loves him, but when the girls love him too, and then he's that talented, that's a whole different world. And you have to
Absolutely.
get somebody that good to even experience. So if you haven't had someone like that, you have no idea.
That's right.
And if you find one again, I'm not sure you ever do. Maybe
Okay.
find someone that's incredible, or someone young, but in that age group and our age, find someone like that again. I don't know about that. You know, so he
Right.
went on the road. He was just normal. 14 months, never worse, 5 gigs a week. So then you don't ever lose money. You can make. We never had a canceled date. And then we'd come home and take a couple months off and go in the studio. So we did 1, 2, 4 records. 4, bang,
Okay.
bang, bang, bang. And then went to work in between. And I did the
Right, of
Rocky.
course.
We did this Rocky 3 songs, and then we did the karate. He did like, I don't know, I worked with him for years.
That's awesome. I loved him, man. He
And
was such an amazing talent.
Stallone liked him so much. You know, don't forget he's got the end of Lockup, the Ever Since War. He's got, I don't know, I think 3 films he used him in
Oh man,
on
that's
his
great.
own.
Right.
Yeah, and so, you know, I never asked him, what do you think? But there it is.
You mentioned the touring aspect with Survivor. What were some of the biggest shows, and where were those?
Oh, God.
You've done so many
What was this?
festivals, and
Oh, we did. No, before that, we went on the road. We called it the Vacation Tour. You know, it was us. We co-headlined this Brian Adams Survivor Tour. Went on for almost 2 years. It was like tour
oh
of the
wow,
year. I said, but that was last year. And no ego, no bragging. It was a great tour.
right.
And we just out for maybe 24 months. We were out for almost 2 years. Come home, go out. We did Europe. You know, we just living it up. We had a
That's
great time,
great.
and I called it the Vacation Tour. Say, so you're in Philadelphia. Well, we'd be at the Spectrum 4 nights. You're in New York next week. Next week, you're at the Garden 4 nights. You know, and I would be, at the time I was doing a lot of jogging. I'd run around and do my sisters. I'm here for how many nights? So we kind of called it the Vacation Tour because every market we played 3 or 4 nights. We were at the Forum in LA for 3 nights. It was just unbelievable.
That's crazy.
We had 2 tours like that.
Amazing.
We did an REO. We did a tour at REO that was like that. It was like a vacation tour. We did 3 nights everywhere. Just unbelievable.
Wow.
Because you can really hone in, you know, to settle in a town.
Yeah.
They can like really get into the shows, but you could like jog. You start focusing. It's a whole different world when you're doing that stuff. Especially
Yeah, I
at that
bet.
age, you don't get bored. You know, you're kind of
How old were
focused
you?
because 25 to I think 25 to like 32, I did all that work.
Oh,
I
great.
started
Okay.
young.
Yeah. Obviously.
25 to 32, I did all that stuff, all of it.
That's great.
Because, you know, when I was 35, I took 3 years off. I needed it.
Right. Yeah.
I
After all
needed it.
that work, sure you do. So you had a dump truck full of members in your band, right? I found like over 20
Yes.
cast members. Okay. And I was wondering, like,
Is there that
where
many?
all,
There's a lot.
yeah, I found 20. Oh, well, there's over 20 actually. So, and that's cool. Why so many? If you don't mind me asking.
Oh, I don't give a shit, man. Because you just keep going. And
Okay.
not for the sake of keep going. Hopefully, and you know, we have to have great hope in life in general.
Right.
Hopefully it's hard to describe it, but ideally, you're doing both. You're doing what you did at least as good, and then some things at least a little better.
Right.
And then maybe it grows.
Okay.
And then maybe you have to stop for a couple of years. It all depends. But there is a point,
Sure.
yeah, 20's a lot, isn't it? 20's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
A
Yeah,
lot.
but you've been around for a long time too, so it just depends. Like,
Yeah.
what's
maybe
the
it
present
does.
lineup? What's the present lineup?
Just the same guys it's been forever. It's Cameron, it's Ryan, it's Bill, it's Jeff. It's always, to me, it revolves around a singer. That's the
Right. Okay. So
writer,
tell us about the
like
singer you
hanging
have
around with
now.
you and Ron. Cameron Barton. Cameron's a great singer, man.
Yeah, tell
I
us
told
about
you with
Cameron, man.
Jamison. He's a great fucking
Right.
singer, man. And he's an old soul. He's like hanging with some guy that's been around forever. It's hard to explain, man. You have to meet him, and he's total chill.
Right.
He reminds
Young
me
cat,
an awful
right?
lot about you. Yeah, he's 25. He reminds me an awful lot about JMO. He reminds me of him in tons of ways. He's totally chill. He knows I drop everything. Here, I'll do it. The same kind of stuff. And
Sure.
he's got a great voice, man.
Right.
And
Okay.
I got him young. So young means,
Right.
you have to either be willing to spend time to help people develop
Right.
when they're young, and you can do
That's
that.
right.
But they have to have an attitude enough to say, okay, but that's a fuck enough of your helping me develop. And he has that too, which is what
Good.
I really like about him. Well, without
Right.
that, you'd suck.
Right.
You'd
Yeah.
suck.
Exactly. And so you
To
mentioned
me, it's always
Ryan.
been about
Go ahead.
the song and the singer. Was Ryan? Ryan was Mark's tech for years, and they were close. And Mark, Mark's fucking great. By the way,
Yeah, I
I
love
miss
Mark. Yep.
No, I talk about ask Teresa sometime. Probably if I miss a day, it's maybe once, twice a week where I won't even talk a story about him or think about him. Or he's the guy I miss most, actually. It's Mark.
I
Because
got
I
you.
met him. No, Toby, it's just the whole thing's a fucked up band crap. That's when I go, can we just eliminate bands and can we just be people? I do sometimes,
Right.
just eliminate this whole band thing and can we just be a couple guys? Fuck the whole thing. And yeah, man, everybody, fuck that stuff. It's like at a point, it's like, I don't want to say, it's like getting a fucking coronavirus. Just eliminate the band, the whole thing. And just, I met Mark I met him years in 74 and 5, I met him.
Okay.
When
So
I
he's
was in
been like the
Mariah,
longest standing member, right?
Yeah, when I was in Mariah, we were in Long Beach and we played all those clubs in OC. Like all those
Okay.
clubs in Orange County were bitching, man.
Right.
Mark was in the house band at the Stagecoach. Well, 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. So I
Okay.
used to go play with him, and then him and I used to go do tear-outs for Builder during the day and then play at night. And we collapsed the stage one night. There's so many people on it. It was so much fun. I have a lot of
Oh,
history.
wow.
He didn't join this band till 10 years later.
Oh,
So you're
okay.
talking about 74 or 5 when I met Mark, right out of high school when I went out there. So think about it. His band
Right.
was the opening band, and his band was killer. And then him and I bonded. I said, that drummer's a badass. So he was in an after-hours band. He'd invite me. So then we'd work and do tear-outs. And we had this history. So when we
Okay.
needed a drummer, that was a done. That was like, and I got a guy instantly. As soon as that even came up, which I never, bingo, it was Mark. But we had 10 years of history between us before the
Sweet.
band. We're brothers.
Right.
We're brothers, man.
That's awesome.
Bands. I want to call him up and go, can we just put all that fuck bands? Look at our history, the after hours, we collapsed the stage. He had this keyboard player that played B3, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest that came out, and the guy looked just like Chief. And Mark nicknamed him Chief, and then he became famous. Oh, Chief, yeah, he's the guy he used to say. He ripped on B3. He had these kids. He'd say, he called me kid, remember Chief? All that stuff was awesome.
Right.
I
Right.
think about it. I tell Teresa stories all the time about him. Mark, we go back forever, man. Bands, Toby, bands.
Bands. That's right.
We
buddy.
should
That's
never do
right.
that with people. No, stuff shouldn't happen between people because of bands.
Sweet.
So
And now I'd like to thank my sponsor, Tomes, which is a natural sleep and sound healing portal, helping people globally to get to sleep faster and stay asleep longer. You can find this piece of gold at tomes.com. That's www.taumms.com. And most of all, a big thank you to all of you who stream, download, watch, and support My Right Stuff. Please keep spreading the word. I appreciate it. And also, we have a merch store that you can pick up some snazzy merch for those bodies. And don't forget to tag us in any photos with our merch so we can give you a live shout out on myrightstuff.com. And I want to thank our whole My Right Stuff crew for making this podcast possible every week. This has been another exciting episode of My Right Stuff. Be sure to tune in next week and every week for yet another adventurous and informative episode. Please be sure to subscribe on YouTube so you never miss an episode. I hear you also give you 10 years good luck. Well, ring that bell. I'm your host, Lord Toby Wright. And remember, listen loud, play hard, and keep reaching for your dreams. Good night.
Thank you for watching My Right Stuff. This episode was brought to you by Tones, a natural sleep and sound healing portal available globally at www.tomes.com. That's www.taumms.com.